Welcome to part 2 of our tangent gondola weathering project. I have sealed up the interior of the gondola. As you can see, we got that part done. So now we're going to start on the outside, and we're going to put a wash of raw umber on for the first application. Our first color is going to be this raw umber from the usual oil paints of Winsor & Newton. And I have a dab here on a piece of foil. That's all we're going to need. So let's go ahead. We've got our mineral spirits. We're going to start applying this part. We want to coat the entire car, much like when we did that Milwaukee box car. Okay, so here we go. Just want to let it flow in. You just want to coat the entire car. Oops. You want to dab a bit to get it in behind the ladders. You notice how it just kind of goes down along these ribs here. That's precisely what we want it to do. It's going to really accentuate the surface of the car. All right, let's go ahead and put another coat on. We'll do 2 coats. This is going to be a pretty heavily weathered car. Move some of that around. You can see how we're starting to get kind of that coating on there. Clear coating the inside of the car and making it dry can steady the car that way, and I have somewhere to hold on to it. There. So we'll let this dry, and we're going to clear coat the car again to seal it, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, got the clear coat on the raw umber wash. We're going to now dab that same really dark burnt umber mixture of acrylic paint using this and this, if you remember from when we did the interior of the car. So here we go. So we're going to go along each of these vents, and I'm just going to dab on here a little bit. I don't really want to be just kind of if I don't put enough on, I can just go back and add more. I'm kind of dabbing some of the paint off onto a paper towel I've got over here. Almost dry brushing, but I'm not really brushing, I'm just dabbing. And while we're at it, I'll just put some down along here. I just kind of want to rest the bottom right there up a bit. Swing around to the other side. Let's start down here for a change. Oops. I'll vary up how I put it on too. Maybe I'll brush up and down in some spots, side to side. I'll just do a straight dab. Go down around the placard here. I'm going to put a little bit down around the bottom like that on this side. We're going to bleed around that as well. Okay. Okay, now that the acrylic part is done, the next step, I made a mixture going back to my oil paints of burnt umber and ivory black. And right here is about what I got, very similar to the acrylic color, and that's on purpose. So I'm going to take my micro brush and I'm going to start putting dabs of paint on these louvered parts of the car, like so. I'm not putting a lot on there. Okay, so we got that much done. Let's see what that happens. That's not the brush I want. I want this brush over here. Here. Actually, I want a finer brush. Okay, so here's our mineral spirits. Get the brush good and wet. We're just going to start hitting this and letting it flow. Let's see what happens. Let's put some more on there. There we go. And that seems awfully globby there, doesn't it? But we can go through. There. That's a little better. The mineral spirits will not bother the acrylic. Okay, so that last one has about the right amount, so we're going to kind of go with that. We're going to thin out what we put on over here a little more, a little heavier than I want it to be. There. That's better. See, again, it's a nice thing about oil paints. You really get some flexibility in how you work with them. We're going to come through and just take a little bit more out. There we go. So, you see how that's kind of staining right in there. Again, it looks glossy because the mineral spirits is wet. So let's go through, let's do some more. I'm just going to put a little bit down. Okay. I'll skip one. Just take a little bit out. There. Okay, so we're going to go over and do the other side. Okay. I kind of bled on the placard, that's okay. There. Now our airbrush will help greatly with this, as in it will help blend this a little more. We're also going to put another shade of rust on this, but this is going to have to dry a little bit before we do that, and I missed a panel. There. Okay. And we're at it. We're going to go ahead and kind of put some of this on the ends, especially down towards the bottom. And I'm going to just do a straight application like so. And just cut it down like that. A little too much there. There. Okay. Now, the thing I like to do is we're going to get a super fine brush. Which, I gotta figure out where that is. Brush like so. And I'm going to get it wet. A little bit of this same paint. And now, what's happening there is it's kind of just bleeding down the rib there. I don't want it to do much. In fact, you may not be able to notice too much. It's kind of going down the rivet line there. You can kind of see that. So go ahead and do this all the way around the car. Okay, we're now ready for the next bit of rust. For this, we're going back to the transparent red ochre and our ivory black. We're going to mix those up. I'll swing you around here so you can see that. So I just got a little bit here on the brush. I'm going to start mixing it in here with the orange. That looks pretty good right there. Give you kind of a bit of what that looks like. Back to our gondola. So I'm going to kind of do like I did with that other rust mixture. I'm going to go through. I'm just going to put little dabs. I'm not going to put much in though. This color I don't want to use a ton of, just because it's a little bit more stark and striking. You can tell I'm not putting much on there. I'm putting it at the top. Okay. So I got my mineral spirits here. Using a brush of this size. So here we go. We're just going to dab. Yeah, pretty good. further. Got a little bit right there. Like a lot of stuff's kind of hard to tell in here until it dries. We're ready to go over to the other side. A little bit there. I'll come back to that one in a second. Let's get rid of some paint here. It's okay if we have a little bit on the placard. Okay, there's that. Well, that works out pretty good there. So I get a little lucky with things. Okay, now, so there's that. Another thing I want to do, if you notice, along the top of the gun are all these little bolt details. Well, we definitely can't leave that alone. So what I'm basically doing, as you can see, I'm just going to put a little dab right on top. I'm going to hit all of these little bolt details. I don't want it, most of them I don't want to be too much. There we go. Okay, that'll be a little heavy. It's a nice thing about this tangent model. It's got all these little details. You can go through and weather them. It just really makes the model almost like another dimension. Okay. So, here our brush again. Now I'm going to do this with it level. Once I'm done, I will show you. The car in general will be very rusty. It's a Gondola. It's the Penn Central. It's been abused. Okay. You kind of see how that works. Once it dries, it'll really look good. And it's one of those things you have to kind of know what it's going to look like when you're done. And let that mineral spirits dry. I'll go ahead and get this other side done. Okay. See, I got them all done. As that dries, that'll really start to look a lot better. Now, to do some other rusting. So I've got my fine brush here. I'm not going to really thin it yet. I got a little bit on there straight off the foil there. I'm just going to come through and I'm going to just kind of do a little bit of some detail rusting, if you want to call it that. Down here especially, I want to do something with a little bit more with that. Okay, add a little more dimension to that. So we'll do some more with this placard here. I'm just little shades here and there, just as random as I can be. And the rest there, put that there. Let's really do our lighters up good. There. Let's come back to this one. You can kind of see I'm going over some of the darker rust with this lighter rust. They combine up. So there's that and that. Of course, part of the thing too is not to overdo this. It's so easy to do. Okay. I often hit my cut bars. So when I spray over them with the airbrush, they'll be a little more subtle. And where else I think it might look good. Especially if I see rivets, bolts. Okay. That plaque there, I don't think I'm going to mess too much more. At that point, might be overdoing it, but I am going to hit this ladder some. That stirrup. This placard needs more. I'm going to get in there right like that, right in there. You can kind of see it. There. I am not doing anything special. I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just really just highlighting edges. Pull down a little bit. The next one needs it too. Come across the top. Come down. Jab at it a little bit. There. I kind of like that. Let's hit this a little bit. There we go. Now we got this down here. Get some more. Now I'm not thinning this rust any. This is just straight off of my lava paint I got. I think that looks pretty good. I'm really rather pleased with this model. I'm just being very random. Once this all dries and we dull coat it, it'll really work. I do a lot along the bottom edges because that's where the car really gets beat up. Okay. Ooh, our bolts are starting to dry out nicely too. Oh, sorry. I'm going to hit alongside this. See where stuff can get really a lot of touching climbed on. I mean, gondolas definitely don't get the same treatment as other rolling stock. There. And I think I'm going to stop there, let this dry, and then in our next installment, we'll get the airbrush out and finish it. Oh, there is one other thing. Let me move it. By the way, see our bolts? See how that dries now? The trucks. That darker rust stain, I did put a wash over them. I'm going to go over them now with this lighter rust stain. Again, not a ton. Let's see, I'm not really going heavy. I'm going to go ahead and hit the ends here. Remember, we airbrush these grimy black. Can't really get to the other end because of the clothespin, but we'll just put that to the inside of the car. Nobody's going to really look at it, are they? There we go. Hit over the top. Here's the other truck. We won't do a lot of airbrushing on this. We'll probably put a coat of rail brown or some type of collar like that. It's like an umber collar, an overall spray on the car, and then that'll be it. That's all it's really going to need. Otherwise, it's going to be too much, even for a heavily weathered car. The big thing you got to realize is when to stop. And he's moving around, isn't he? Okay. I'll spread that a little more. There. I think it looks pretty good. The thing too I've done in the past, if I think I did something too heavily, I can go back over, like on my locomotives, if I got the trucks looking a bit too tannish or what have you in the weathering, I'll do a very light misting of flat black or grimy black to tone it down. You do the same thing with your freight car trucks. There. Okay, so that's it for this segment. Part 3, we'll finish it up with the airbrush and final assembly. Thank you.